This Thoughtful Thursdays episode of Hacking Your Leadership is brought to you by the Top 1% podcast. If you feel like you're struggling, worrying, overindulging, overmedicating, and underperforming in both business and in life, move out of that survival mode and into a life of limitless potential. Subscribe to the Top 1% podcast hosted by Dr. Trevor Blattner. When Trevor reached out and wanted to be a sponsor of our show, I told him we'd never partnered with a sponsor before and that I wouldn't feel comfortable asking our listeners to give him a shot until I was able to spend some time talking to him over the phone and listening to a few episodes of the show. He almost immediately sent me an invite to chat. We were able to talk about podcasting, but also about our shared values. He's the real deal, and he has a genuine desire to help others unlock these things that we all have inside us, but that many of us are just unable to harness. His guests include some pretty well-known names in fields like sports psychology, human potential, and leadership. I've listened to almost 20 episodes so far, and I keep finding value in every one I try. So after you finish this episode of Hacking Your Leadership, search for the Top 1% podcast and give it a listen. You'll be glad you did. All right, welcome to Hacking Your Leadership. I'm Chris, and welcome to another Thoughtful Thursdays episode. Thanks again to all our listeners for tuning in twice a week and for spreading the word about hacking your leadership. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram at Hacking Your Leadership and leave us a review on whichever podcasting platform you use. All right, for this week's episode, I want to talk about the differences between teams and just groups of individuals doing the same job. My first job was as a courtesy clerk, bagging groceries and collecting shopping carts for a large supermarket chain. I was one of 20 or so people doing that job, and our boss referred to us as a team of courtesy clerks. We were allowed to switch shifts with each other. We all got along pretty well, and there was a party during the holiday season. I guess we kind of felt like a team, but I was 16 years old. There are teams of people all over the workforce. All of you listening right now have undoubtedly worked on a few teams throughout your careers, but I'm guessing some of them felt more like teams than others. Why is this? Well, there are some seemingly obvious answers. When we like the people we work alongside, we're probably more likely to feel like we're part of a team. And when we don't care about our coworkers, it's harder to feel that way. When the people we work alongside are doing the exact same job as us, allowing us to benchmark ourselves off their performance, ask for and share feedback or advice, that would probably instill a feeling of being on a team as opposed to simply sitting next to people who are doing different jobs for an organization, leaving the conversations relegated to non-work related topics. And to be perfectly honest, labels matter. If your organization or your manager has labeled you and your coworkers a team, and the PowerPoint presentations during meetings talk about team performance or team outcomes, then it would probably be pretty hard not to believe you were working on a team. Well, I can tell you from experience that I've worked with groups of people who fit all those criteria, and yet we still weren't on a team. There's a reason why it's called a soccer team and a chess club, because even though all the people in the chess club are doing the same thing, and they all presumably like each other, chess itself is played by a single person. Teams have more than just people who like each other and who do the same work. They have outcomes that are shared both positively and negatively. They have peer accountability, something that is much more effective than accountability to a boss or a company. If I fail at doing my job, my boss may talk to me about it or provide some performance counseling, but my team will suffer poorer business outcomes due to my performance, and they'll know those outcomes are due to my failures. The potential for this to happen is precisely why people who feel accountable to their peers perform better than those who don't. Peer accountability means I have to be aware of the strengths and weaknesses of my teammates so I can pick up the slack when needed, and more importantly, do what I can to help my teammates improve just as they would do for me. Hopefully this occurs not just because of a desire to achieve high performance, but also because my teammates and I want to see each other succeed. As the employee experience at many organizations becomes more and more important, and as employees report a need to feel a sense of psychological safety at work, there could be a tendency of many leaders to remove peer accountability and focus more heavily on individual outcomes while still talking about team performance. The assumption being that it's an inherently negative thing to feel like you've let your teammates down and that they may judge you for it. But psychological safety isn't achieved by insulating employees from anything that might make them feel bad. It's achieved by making sure they are working alongside people who view those failures as opportunities for improvement rather than opportunities to chastise. And leaders can ensure this happens by hiring people who actually like what they do, who enjoy working with people from different backgrounds and with different skill sets, and who jump at the chance to share knowledge and skills in a way that engages people rather than making them feel stupid. If you're a leader and you find yourself removing peer accountability from your employees, you may find that you do this because some members of your team don't have the maturity and the patience and the compassion to deal out that accountability wisely and with love. If this is the case, the correct course of action is to remove those people from your team and spread the psychological safety without eliminating the peer accountability. When groups of individuals who are doing the same job feel accountable to one another and they care about one another, then and only then do you have a team. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you on Monday.